I am joined now by Jason Johnson, politics professor at Morgan State University, MSNBC analyst. It is heating up, and it's telling that nobody's left on the right or in MAGA to defend Trump on this.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. All right, this is, I don't want to be glib about this, but anybody who is remotely involved in this situation deserves condemnation, investigation. I don't care if you were one of the people who was grooming. I don't care, to quote your guest tomorrow, I don't care if you're trafficking or tricking. If you're involved in this, you should face consequences. And so it's a one time that you've actually seen Republicans come forward and say, yeah, this is kind of bad, and we're not going to cover for him on this. I don't know if that's going to have implications when it comes to votes or policies, but at least this moral instance, they seem to be showing backbone.
Yeah, and the families have been through a lot. We heard from an investigative author last night who I mentioned, or earlier this week, Ms. Brown, Julie Brown. And I want to play what she said about what these people have already been through.
I think that the Justice Department has failed multiple times, failed these victims. You know, from the very beginning when Maria Farmer went to the FBI and nothing was done, which was way back in the early 2000s. So it's just more of the same, disappointment upon disappointment for these victims. Could you imagine if you were sexually abused as a child repeatedly, and the president of the United States is calling this whole scandal a hoax? It's not a hoax.
It's not a hoax, and you promised to do this, right? Like you came into office saying, this is so terrible, we're going to release this information. So when you don't release the information, right, you're suggesting either one, you're afraid of what could come out, or two, that you yourself feel that you're going to be personally or directly or politically affected. And that's one of the most shameful things about this. And anyone who defends it, like I said, is on the wrong side of history. But I'll say this other thing, Ari, I don't think this is going to get quiet. And in fact, I think when these members of Congress go home, they're going to hear more about this. They're going to hear more people saying in town halls, hey, why aren't you guys doing anything about this? This should be a slam dunk. And maybe this administration will listen, or maybe they'll keep lying.
Yeah, and that they built up the interest in it.
Yes.
That's why I show the Republican Center there, because there could be other issues, you know, inflation, perhaps, the treatment of immigrants, where they say, well, other people care about that, their side doesn't. Politics sometimes splinters that way. Mm-hmm. Here, a lot of people should care about this for the obvious reasons, but it has been serviced in the political information structure more on the right than anywhere else.
Right. And that was the thing. I think you had many people in issue who were like, well, we want this released because they thought it would expose Bill Clinton and George Soros and all these sort of enemies that they sort of perceived on the left. Now that you have people on the right, and in particular this administration, saying, well, maybe that was a little too hasty, it makes you look guilty. If you're going to keep pointing your fingers at people, you shouldn't be concerned when the fingers get pointed back at you. But again, I think my real concern is when you hear people saying we need to release the information, you hear Democrats say that, Republicans say it. My question is, and if it gets released, then what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. Are you going to push for these people to be prosecuted? Because just airing this out is not enough. There are victims out there that deserve justice. And I don't hear enough people talking about that part.
Right. And that's where I think there's this tension, because some of it's been serviced as content. I want to play the victim I mentioned earlier. This is an interview from 2020.
What would justice look like for you when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell?
I would like to see Ghislaine stay in jail forever. I'd like her to apologize for what she's done to me and so many others.
When Jeffrey Epstein took his own life, many of the victims/survivors felt that they had been robbed, that they did not get their day in court.
That's some of that exchange. And so what you have there is someone saying, well, Maxwell's the only culpable person left.
Right.
The person leading the MAGA claimed justice quest is now openly holding the door open to letting that person out of prison. You know, we have this victim here speaking now from years past. And I want to ask you, and we're bringing in Joan Walsh to join the discussion on the other side. I want to ask you, what does it mean that things are so upside down that the one person the victims say obviously should serve out their sentence is still having some sort of clemency dangled? So I put that to you. Jason stays, and Joan joins us right after this. We'll be right back.